This is my 2018 Jeep Wrangler. It has a 6-speed manual transmission. My goal today is to attempt to wash the clutch to fix some aftermarket issues with a sticky spline shaft, or at least what I think is a sticky spline shaft. All right, basically a clutch connects at the engine to the transmission. And so when the clutch is disengaged, the engine can spin at a different speed of the transmission. And this is how you change gears. There is a couple basic components here. You've got the flywheel that is spinning with the engine. You've got this pressure plate, which is also spinning with the engine. But then you've got the clutch disc, which is connected directly to the transmission. And so in this case, when the clutch is disengaged, somebody pressed down on the clutch pedal, it creates separation. And so the flywheel and the pressure plate moved ever so slightly so that the clutch disc can spin independently of the engine. When you lift your foot off of the clutch, what it does is it squishes the flywheel and the pressure plate together, and it squishes onto that clutch disc, and that directly connects the engine to the transmission. It's kind of like a sandwich. And finally, what I suspect is happening here is that when you press down on the pedal, what's happening is there is a space here that is being generated between the flywheel and the pressure plate. But this clutch disc is somehow staying in contact with either one of these surfaces. And so in this case, what's happening is even though I hit the clutch, it should be disengaged, it's still slightly engaged. And this is what makes it hard to go into first or reverse, or even causes the lockout issue. So what I'm attempting to do is clean this. I suspect there is a spline here, and I suspect it gets dirty. And so this experiment is to say, can I just wash this system and make that slide better on that surface? Okay, just to put a different perspective on this, this here is your pressure plate. And so there is a contact surface here made of steel. And then there are spring fingers here. And basically, when you hit the pedal and the clutch, it pushes down on this throwout bearing, which what that does is it pushes on these spring fingers, which slightly retract this surface. And so when that surface retracts, what it does is it gives the clutch disc a little space to slip. So this is your clutch disc itself. And so this is squished between the pressure plate and the flywheel. And then when you press down on the throwout bearing, it gives it a little space to slip in here. And so that's how that works. Now, the transmission then has an input shaft that looks like a spline, and that spline interacts with the clutch disc. And so these are always connected. And so if there's no pressure here, it's allowed to slip. And so the transmission can run at a different RPM than the engine. What we suspect on this clutch system is that over time there becomes contamination in this spline, and so instead of this shifting a little bit, it needs to shift, it gets stuck. And when it gets stuck, it's either sticking up against the pressure plate or it's sticking up against the flywheel, and that is when it makes it hard to go into first gear or into reverse. And so the goal here is can we wash out the system and make it work a little while longer before we have to go in there and clean it out.
The basic premises of this is to flush water in the top of the bell housing and have it come out the bottom. First, we remove these rubber plugs. There's actually a vent hole at the very top of the bell housing, and if you look where my hand is going up, it's right above that, right to the left of the fuel lines there. I did try to take a endoscope And here's the view of the endoscope, and we're gonna kind of fish our way up on the left side of the fuel lines. Sorry, the camera's not the best here, but at the top here you see this hole. And now this hole here goes in and then it takes a hard right. And if you keep following that passageway, you can actually see part of the clutch here. And so the goal here is to get a flexible hose up into this space so that we can flush it with water. All right, so I just made a little adapter here, and the adapter, that hose was shoved into that hole, and now it's pushing water into the clutch. It is now draining out through that slot where we remove the rubber plugs from. We're gonna do this for probably 10 minutes. I'm going to do several things, including pumping the clutch and also changing the revs, the RPMs of the engine. And this is, my hope is that it allows water to rinse out as much of the clutch as you can. Here's a great picture when the engine turned on. You can actually see gray water splashing on the tub. And so we're just going to do this for several minutes, and we'll go from there. I'm using the bucket to try to capture any sediment that can be collected. I do this with a cold engine so that we're not warping anything at all. If it's cool, it will stay cool. Just pulling out this bucket. I know a lot of the water didn't go into the bucket, but I was just curious what we could capture. And as you can see, we captured quite a bit. There's a Centerforce sticker down there, and there's just a lot of black sediment that was able to be flushed out, so maybe it helped clean something.
So I'll let you know if this works. I guess one last note I'd like to make is that after I washed the clutch, I let the engine get up to temperature so that any water in there would be evaporated at that point. I think the clutch wash, it may or may not help with this issue, but if you are into mud, I think this is could be a great way to help clear any mud or any contaminants that get up into that system. So thank you.